What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Political Insider. I'm Brett Smith, your humble host. Joining me again today is Chris Barron of Right Turn Strategies, frequently seen on Kennedy Nation on Fox Business Network, which returns this week, thank God, and Watters World on FNC, and one of our talented op-ed writers of the Political Insider. Let's touch on your last op-ed first, and then we can talk about this upcoming debate on Thursday. So your last op-ed is Trump's town hall was a home run. The happy warrior hits his stride. First off, what's the main thing Trump accomplished in this town hall last week, do you think?
Connecting with people. I guess one of the things that Trump is so good at is connecting with people. It's why social media has been so powerful for him, because it's his direct connection to individuals. And in this town hall, Trump was so damn likable, man. He was unflappable. He was smiling. He was funny. He wasn't defensive. He wasn't angry. He was the happy warrior. He seemed like a guy who's out there and who is having a really good time. It's one of the things I always said about the rallies from 2016, and people were like, well, who cares about the rallies? I'd be like, it's the Trump show. You tune into it, and he's having fun, man. When have political rallies been fun? Trump's out there and he's tossing water around, and he's having a good time. He was having fun, and people felt it. And this is one of the reasons why people liked Trump so much.
Yeah, it's a good time, and that's infectious. And anytime you watch any of those rallies, you say to yourself, wow, that looks like a lot of fun. I'd like to be there, And
it's enthusiastic about our country, all this overt patriotism and how much you love this country and how great this country is. And it's all of these things that people want to hear, we do love our country, and we do want to feel good about our country, and in today's media spends so much time beating it down. That's one of the great things about the Trump rallies. What was so great about the RNC, it's what was so great about Trump's town hall is that it's this morning in America again. It's Reagan 84. It is optimism. I understand why there's a time for the angry, we got to drain the swamp. But look, Trump's been president for 4 years. The fact is that he has done a phenomenal job. There's a lot to be happy about, and he should be happy about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the rallies they're basically celebrations of America. They're not just a celebration of his policies and the policies put in place and that have had direct results and positive results, but it's really a celebration of America, American exceptionalism, and they're kind of like little mini 4th of Julys. They tailgate. Everybody's playing, cranking music. That and these boat parades are also just incredible to watch. I get a kick out of these boat parades everywhere. Seems like it's every weekend now.
And by the way, again, this is the Trump excitement and positivity and love for America and our country and your fellow man. While Democrats are burning their cities down, you're having impromptu car rallies where people are driving through with Trump flags. You've got impromptu boat parades. You've got the Trump rallies. There's a lot that we can and should be happy about. And it was really great to see that Trump. And by the way, look, the most disarming thing for the media, Savannah Guthrie, who was clearly out to get Trump from the very beginning, the way he handled her was so disarming,
Yeah.
All of it with a smile. You can almost say anything at that point with a smile, It's like that line he delivered against Hillary Clinton in 2016 when Hillary said, well, it's a good thing that you're not, in charge of, somebody like Donald Trump's not in charge of the judiciary. And Trump just goes, because you'd be in prison.
Right. That was classic. That was a classic zinger, and it's not easy to pull those off.
No.
And he's got quite a repertoire of them at this point. He did handle Savannah Guthrie, I thought, perfectly. What's amazing to me is, the MSN won't ask Biden to denounce Antifa. You've got Antifa.com that directly links to the Biden campaign donation page. If that's not a ringing endorsement of Antifa, I don't know what is. And yet they continue to just harass Trump about the white supremacy thing, and they never asked Biden to own up to his endorsement of Antifa.
Yeah, and Trump once again, I denounce white supremacy.
I know.
Like the 500th time he's done it. And then she follows up, obviously because she didn't get the zinger that she wanted. She was hoping Trump would like step in it a little bit and give him something to run with the next day. They didn't get that, so decides to ask about QAnon. Here's my question. Of all the things going on in this country and on this planet, why in hell is 1 second of a debate being wasted on QAnon? It's stupid. Who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, like, are you going to ask like Biden about every like weirdo freak conspiracy theory that's out there? Look, so what? It's harmless. It's dumb and it's harmless. Are QAnon people burning like down our cities? Are they attacking people? Are they violent? No. So what? If a bunch of dumb boomers want to share stupid memes on Facebook, why do I give a crap? Why is the president of the United States being asked about this?
That was so. Not only that was desperation. When I saw that, I said to myself, "That's pure desperation." And secondly, and probably most importantly, the QAnon stuff is so over, Joe Q public's head, and that is the average voter has no idea what the hell QAnon is, and nobody cares.
If it wasn't for the left-wing media, no one would know what QAnon is.
No
one.
I bet like 95, maybe even more than that. 95% of everybody who saw that was just like, "What is QAnon?"
Right.
Yeah.
And like everybody's like, "Oh, well, Trump should have denounced them." No, Trump's response is what everybody at home was thinking. What the hell's QAnon?
They're just scratching their head. They're just like, "Huh?"
He's like,
"Yeah,
I don't
exactly."
know what this is. I have no idea. What are you talking about? Like, and Savannah Guthrie's like, "That's just not true." What? Says who?
Right. Yeah, I know. I know. I mean, this is pure desperation. I mean, we're down to what we're at 12, 13 days at this point. And this is all they've got, frankly. And what they're ignoring is the bombshells with Hunter Biden and all this stuff that's coming out. I mean, that's nowhere to be seen. Not on social media, not on the networks, other than basically Fox.
No, look. And by the way, a couple of things. One, if the Hunter Biden bombshells were so like, I saw somebody today, like some left-wing reporter saying it was the worst like October surprise ever. Like if that was the case, then they wouldn't care. If people would cover them and say it's all a bunch of crap. The problem is that no one associated with the Biden campaign has said that anything uncovered in the Hunter Biden hard drive is not true. It's very easy to do. If there were emails out there that were claiming that I had profited from somebody that I know selling my access to the Ukrainians or the Chinese, here's a real quick thing I could do. That's not true.
Right.
Not true. Like, that's what you have. He hasn't even said that. Like he hasn't. There's absolutely no one has said that anything contained in them is not true. And I love that suddenly Twitter cares about leaked materials when the New York Times article on the Trump tax returns is 100% based on a illegal leak of Trump's tax returns, something that's actually against the law. Hunter Biden went on a crack bender, left his laptop at the Mac Fix-It place, and after 90 days, it became the property of the guy who owned the shop, who then turned it over to the FBI.
Yeah, which they did nothing with. I mean, not until he turned it over to Giuliani and Bannon.
Right.
No, it's insane. I love it how Twitter allows all the New York Times stuff when that information was obtained through a hack.
Right.
It's insane.
The Steele dossier stuff.
Yeah.
If they allow people to run for years on the Steele dossier stuff, has Twitter ever suppressed a single one of those stories? Even stories that turned out to be verifiably false, like the Michael Cohen in Prague story that was supposed to be based on the Steele dossier, even though they actually had physical evidence that Michael Cohen wasn't in Prague on that day. Like unless he's using Star Trek technology to beam himself over there. Like I said, Twitter never once suppressed a single one of those. Like they allow the left to run with the most insane conspiracy theories, including the newest one that the Hunter Biden leaks are actually Russian disinformation. The director of national intelligence came out and said, that's not true. We have zero evidence that the Russians had anything to do with this. So every single blue check mark out there, hi, I'm talking to you, CNN, is out there saying this is a Russian disinformation project. Provide some evidence. If not, if Twitter's going to get in this game, then Twitter needs to be suppressing folks who are claiming things that have absolutely no basis in fact whatsoever, or get out of the game altogether and let people decide for themselves.
Yeah, I was just going to say it'd be really nice if Twitter could just be the social media platform that it purports itself to be, and stop acting like a publisher. All they do is edit and censor, and throttle people they don't like. I know there's a lot of discussion about this revoking their 203 status or whatever, but I am really hoping at some point in time that all of these masters of the universe within the social media sphere get knocked down a peg or two. I don't know if that's treating them like Ma Bell and breaking them up, or or what.
I know that there's lots of fans on the conservative side of repeal of Section 230. I've read enough of this that makes me believe that that's not the silver bullet. That it could actually make things potentially even worse.
I've heard that some of these guys like Zuckerberg are counting on that to happen.
Yeah, they've got plans for everything. I'll tell you the one thing they don't have a plan for. The one thing you don't have a plan for is antitrust legislation brought against them. Facebook, which also owns Instagram and Twitter, are a monopoly. They operate a de facto, social media monopoly. And by the way, I disagree with a lot of people on the left. There are people on the left who want to break up the social media giants, and this is one time I think we can find common ground. The bottom line is you're never going to have. I like Parler. It's fine. It's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere because Twitter has become the de facto platform. That's it. If you want to connect with reporters, if you want to connect with folks that are happening in real time, Twitter's it. People aren't. It's not like this libertarian dream of just build it. Make your own.
Yeah, that's where I really lose my patience with libertarians because they are so incredibly naive when it comes to this stuff. Oh, just go build your own Google. Go build your own. Let the free market decide. It's just like you people are lost in space, and it's why you have absolutely zero platform. On the national stage.
Right, but look, we have antitrust legislation for a reason.
Yeah.
This isn't the free market. When you have a monopoly, it's not the free market. You have a perversion of the free market. You have one actor that's able to actually bend the rules of the free market. Twitter can do whatever it wants. Facebook can do whatever it wants because there are no repercussions to them. They're not out there. They don't have to cater to, bring people in. Look, the fact is we're all stuck. There are no other social media platforms that are comparable to Facebook and Twitter. So we don't have any. They're operating a de facto monopoly. And I saw the DOJ today initiated antitrust legislation against Google.
Yeah, I saw that.
Monopoly, and again, censoring conservatives. And look, they can fix this. They can fix this. Facebook and Twitter can go back to simply being a platform, which they claim they are. If you want to remove threats of violence and abject hate speech, fine. But if you're talking about interfering in elections, which is what they're doing right now, the New York Post is still locked out of its Twitter account because of
unbelievable.
It's 2 weeks before an election, and the New York Post is locked out for publishing a factual piece about somebody who Twitter wants to protect, who happens to be running for president of the United States.
Yeah, it's incredible. How old is that paper? It's been around for.
Alexander Hamilton founded the New York Post.
Right, and we've got a social media platform that has locked them out right before an election. I would say that is domestic interference in a U.S. election.
And by the way, look, there are a lot of conservatives who've been sounding the alarms on Facebook and on Twitter, and there's been lots of the establishment types who are when they kicked off Milo, like, oh well, who cares? He's just it's provocateur. Who cares about what happened?
That's who they always start with. They always go after Milo. They always go after the Alex Jones.
Alex Jones, and then it was Roger Stone. It's like now we're talking about the newspaper founded by Alexander Hamilton. The New York Post is being locked out of Twitter, not for saying something hateful or defamatory, but for publishing something that to this day no one has said is not true. Mm-hmm. That's insane.
Yeah, and unfortunately, our side has spent all their money and all their time over the last 40 years funneling it into think tanks and white papers. There's nobody on the conservative side that has money that invested in social media platforms or invested in movie studios or invested in TV studios or frankly invested in any institution that could reach the culture and affirm and reflect what is exceptional and good about America.
Yeah, no, and by the way, a lot of those think tanks are heavily funded by Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why all these people are saying, oh, leave Google alone, leave Facebook alone, leave Twitter alone. Like,
look at guys like Mike Lee. I mean, that guy's taken a ton of money from big tech, and he's in their corner. I don't like that guy for a multitude of reasons, but his positions on big tech and protecting them like he has been doing is reason to primary that guy.
Well, yeah, and look, like you said, the bottom line is that there were strategic errors made over the last 40 years with people thinking that the answer was simply to funnel more money into DC, funnel money into think tanks, funnel money into interest groups, and it completely ignoring the cultural side. Completely ignoring the rise of social media, completely ignoring the arts, television, the colleges, movies.
We could have been partnered with Peter Thiel.
Yep.
To create something that could be like maybe an amalgamation of all these things: Facebook, Twitter, Google, whatever. But I mean, we should have been spending money and investing in the future with creative people, frankly, instead of relying on the intellectuals. Because these intellectuals in DC are some of the stupidest people I've ever come into contact with. And I've personally met some of these people. And I'll tell you something. These are 80 IQ mouth-breathing morons.
Right. Well, and by the way, you look at when the rare piece of like pop culture appeals to average Americans, and you see how wildly successful it is. Cobra Kai on YouTube and Netflix. It's a freaking sensation. A sensation.
Yeah.
Look at how successful Roseanne's show was. The one season Roseanne was on, and like, by the way, these are
they had to get her off because it was so successful.
Absolutely. I mean, so it is there's such an untapped like opportunity there, and I think unfortunately too often people have tried to fill it with bad material.
Oh yeah.
I mean, look, nobody wants to see another movie with the kid from Growing Pains in it.
Unless it has Booger in it. If it's Kirk and Booger, then maybe like on a road trip adventure. That might be kind of interesting.
This was the complete miscalculation. People think that somehow like conservative middle America wants to be spoon-fed terrible
Hallmark Channel
bullcrap movies. They don't. They want Cobra Kai.
Right. Yeah.
They want no PC. They want it to be funny. They want it to be like a reflection of their lives. Like, same thing with like Roseanne. Like, the reason that Roseanne did so well was, because it was like the average American's take on living in this crazy world right now. Not some stupid loopy like, you're going to meet your prince, and until then you'll be celibate, and after that you'll have a white picket fence and 3.5 kids. Like, people want real world depictions of what their life is like, and those opportunities continue to be available. It's unfortunate that
that's
step up.
that's where all the opportunities lie. There's such a vacuum for that kind of content, whether it's a TV sitcom or a movie or whatever. But what I found fascinating about Roseanne was she was bringing back the same elements that Family Ties had in the '80s.
Yeah,
And my family was we never missed Family Ties. It's like
me,
Family Ties and Cosby Show, Cheers. Those are, and Alf. Once Alf debuted, boy, I mean, we were always huddled around the TV at the same time. But Family Ties had obviously the Alex P. Keaton character, Michael J. Fox, who was the ultra conservative. When the show debuted, he was a Nixon guy, and then obviously transitioned into Reagan, because I think it's like '80, somewhere around there when that show started up. And then he switched to Bush. So Alex transitioned over the years through the '80s from president to president. But yeah, the ultra hippie boomer liberal parents, and they would knock heads all the time. But at the end of the show, they still loved each other. They had respect for each other, and there wasn't this venomous nastiness that we see. And Roseanne, what was so dangerous about that show was Roseanne's a Trump supporter. Her sister is not. Some of the family is sort of caught in the middle. And what it was showing was we can all get along, and we can
yes,
all
and that's
still love each other and respect each other at the end of the day. And it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to become, a like the progressives like to say, a binary choice.
well, no,
It's either,
but that reason that was so insidious and dangerous to the left is because their goal is to dehumanize Trump supporters.
that's right.
They want to be like socially unacceptable to be a Trump supporter. They want you to be shunned from society, not simply to vote for somebody and you could possibly lose an election. They want you to be removed from society, shunned from society, that you're not a human if you support these policies. And what that show showed was what we're all experiencing. Like that you can. One of my best friends just got back from Afghanistan, and she spent a week staying here with us, and like she hates Trump. Like hate, and we were around each other nonstop for an entire week. And like we had one dust up over politics, but otherwise we just didn't do we avoided it. Like that's what normal people do. Normal people are doing all the time.
Yeah.
But that's not, the media doesn't want you to see that, because then it might humanize Trump supporters, and we can't have that.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of the '80s, Reagan was known as the happy warrior. We were talking about that earlier. And his '84 campaign was different from '81. 2016 had Trump giving us kind of his game face. Why do you think it's important for Trump to be the happy warrior this time around, the 2020 campaign? We talked about that a little bit earlier, but what's different between 2016 and 2020? Because it is kind of an 80-84 sort of contrast.
He's been president for 4 years.
Right.
He's got a record to run on. Like, this isn't about like the specter of what would a Hillary Clinton presidency mean, and what would it mean to have 4 more years of an Obama type presidency. This is, I've got 4 years under my belt. People said I couldn't do this job. They said the job was bigger than me. They said I'd be out of my league. Well, guess what? I built one of the greatest economies this planet has ever seen. And I'm single-handedly able to be the person who will rebuild this economy. I've gotten us out of wars. The reason why these never-Trumpers hate me so much is I'm no longer willing to send young men and women to die in foreign places for no reason whatsoever. I'm the guy who brought those men and women home. If you want to send more kids off to go die, then vote for my opponent. Like if you're for the endless wars, then don't vote for me. Like, he's got this record. He brought peace to the Middle East, something that they made fun of him for. Like, oh, this is nobody before could do it. What makes you think Trump could do it? And he's done it. So he's got this record. He should run on it. And by the way, there's a lot of people complaining about the debate commission's changes. Well, now they're going to mute the opponent's microphone for the first 2 minutes response. Let me tell you what, I'm perfectly fine with it. I'm perfectly fine with it, because I desperately want to see the Trump from this town hall at this debate with Biden. I want to see him be the happy warrior. He doesn't need let Biden mumble and bumble his way through his responses. He doesn't have to jump in and interject. He'll get his opportunity. Let the American people see that this guy is not capable of being president. Give him just enough rope to hang himself. And trust me, he absolutely will. So I'm not at all mad about these changes. I know the president doesn't like it, but look, this is one of those times. It's kind of like the take the phone away from him for 30 minutes. Like, this is one of those times where, like, in the end, this is an environment in which he can excel. He can put this thing away with a happy warrior, solid performance.
I'm hearing some people saying he should, because of this change, with the mic being cut off and everything, he should just blow it off and not go. And I'm thinking to myself, nah, that's not the right thing to do. Bite the bullet, show up, do your best, and go win on the third.
And joke about it. Say, look, I know you guys have tried to game the system as much as possible. You don't want to talk about foreign policy because that's going to be a win for me. You want to mute the mics because you don't want to give me the opportunity to be able to defend myself. And that's fine. I'm going to play by your game, and I'm still going to beat you.
Yeah, it's what's interesting about this is that if he goes in there and they do this to him and it's really egregious, or let's just say it's just just normal. It's not egregious. They're still putting themselves, the media is putting themselves out front. I mean, they're the story rather than what he says or his reactions or his suggestions or his policy. The media, they just continue to make themselves the story. Oh, well, we're going to step in and we're going to turn his mic down. It's like, well, why would you do that? Why would you interject and make yourself the story? Let the debate just happen.
Well, and if you all thought that the first debate was so good for Biden, wouldn't you want a repeat of it? Yeah. I mean, the fact is, Democrats are seeing, like, the polls have shown significant tightening, particularly in key states over the last week or so. And that's not a surprise to me. I thought there would be significant tightening at the end anyways. I think a lot of people who are the kind of reluctant Trump voters are deciding, I can't roll the dice. I'm going to have to vote for the president, even if I don't love some of the stuff I see. I can't trust Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So I think that the media is concerned that Trump is going to pull this out, and they're going to do why Savannah Guthrie acted the way she did. And by the way, it just made the president look better. She looked like the person who was trying to dominate and interject and interfere in the debate, and Trump just smiled and laughed his way through it.
Yeah, the smile, that's the $1 million smile.
The woman who was getting ready to ask him a really tough question about immigration, who she disagreed with him, like, said to him, like, compliment, you got a beautiful smile, like that. It's infectious, and people want to see that from their leader.
And that's what people loved about Reagan.
Yep.
At the end of the day, I mean, and people forget, if you go back and you look at video of Reagan when he was governor in the late 70s, when he was going after the hippies after they burned down Berkeley the first time, Reagan was a tough guy, and he got to the top of the hill in California by being kind of an angry guy, and that style radically changed in '80. That's a different Reagan. You go back and you watch video of him from the 60s and the 70s. That's a different guy. The Reagan that ran in '80 was a different guy. And I've always said,
remember, he was the insurgent in '76 trying to knock off Ford.
Right.
Got within a whisper of doing it. And it wasn't like the happy warrior.
No.
It was the, like, conservative hardliner, we can do better than this idiot Ford.
Well, and he was fighting, Reagan was fighting the rhinos of his age.
Yep.
He just didn't call them rhinos. He called them the Fraternal Order of Republicans. And it was the swamp. It was that versions of the swamp back then. So in order to be heard, he was a loud, kind of bombastic guy. And then obviously kind of switched that up a little bit from the standpoint of tone and style in '80 to run against Carter, who was, really kind of Mr. laid back, low key peanut farmer, with the Southern drawl and the goofy beer drinking brother. So Billy Beer, if anybody remembers Billy Beer. So tell me, let's end on this. What are the states that are on your most watch list right now that you're watching as far as numbers?
Okay. Well, I mean, for me, it really comes down to two, Michigan and Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
Because the truth is, if the president wins Michigan and Pennsylvania, then he's won North Carolina, he's won Iowa, he's won Ohio, he's won Florida. Like, So Michigan and Pennsylvania are it for me, and the president needs to win one of those. He
Yeah.
needs to win or Pennsylvania. And look, if he does, I think he can flip Minnesota too. But I don't see the scenario in which he loses Michigan and Pennsylvania and then flips Minnesota too. Like that's not how elections tend to break the same way. In 2016, the reason we saw Trump win was because everything broke his way. It wasn't like, oh, well, he won all these states that we didn't expect him to win, but he lost a state we totally thought was in the bag for that. It's just generally not how it is. So I'm going to be watching closely Michigan and Pennsylvania. I'm very heartened by what I'm seeing in Pennsylvania, particularly based on the registration numbers, which essentially over the last year, Republicans have out-registered Democrats 2-1 in Pennsylvania. So I am very excited about that. If he can pull it off in Pennsylvania, we got 4 more years of Donald Trump.
Yeah, I'm watching Sean Parnell in that state too as kind of a barometer, and he outraised Connor Lamb like 3-1 in this last month. I interviewed him, which our viewers can see on the YouTube channel, the TPI YouTube channel. It's a great interview, but he's got a lot of momentum right now and a lot of enthusiasm. He's a fantastic candidate, and I'm just kind of watching the numbers with Trump, and I'm just thinking, this is looking good. I mean, it's looking really good, I think.
I do too. Look, the fundamentally, it's the same. It hasn't really changed that much from 2016.
Yeah.
The setup is almost identical. Now, I think we're probably going to see a little even more juiced turnout for Trump from the base than we had in 2016. I think Democratic turnout's obviously going to be juiced. Again, it's going to come down to where does this turnout happen? And if he wins Michigan and or Pennsylvania, he's going to be president. And there's nothing they can do about it.
Yep. Yeah. Well said. All right. Well, that's going to have to do it for today. We're out of time. I want to thank Chris for joining me. Everyone, make sure and check out thepoliticalinsider.com and subscribe to our newsletters so you never miss any of our stories from our talented writers. Also, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Please like and share this video far and wide. Subscribe to the Political Insider channel on YouTube and hit the bell for notifications so you never miss any of our exciting new videos like this one. Everyone have a great day, and we will see you again next time. Thanks.